If you've built all necessary cultist decor, Snake will agree that this place is ready for his ritual. He'll request you bring him a damask sword, which you should already possess. The ritual happens, and his disposition climbs. You can also ask him about the stuff you're looking for, if you've done the optional go-to-town event with the town pass. Note this isn't required at all and can be skipped. Completing all quest lines will obtain you all the items you require. But if you obtain this dialogue from Snake, you can then ask each person respectively about the items you need. You'll get some exposition, but obtaining the items only comes after completing the quest lines anyway. The first time you go to sleep after the ritual, Snake will be there when you awake. He'll tell you that a vampire hunter is on the way here due to one of his cultists speaking about the cult. He'll tell you to meet him on the cliffside of Witch Hill. He won't tell you to bring a plank, but ensure you have one, else you'll have to go back and get it. This scene is essential in obtaining the medallion, which allows you access to floors 11 through 15 of the dungeon. While it's not strictly required to venture through the dungeon to completion, Snake will require a golden apple. You can obtain one on floor 15 of the dungeon, but the alternative is to save up 10 gold and buy one from Clotho. Note, if you've not completed the Inquisitor's questline yet, the body of this hunter usually contains 2 of the 3 dark organs he requires, as long as you've at least unlocked dark organs from the Inquisitor. Speaking of the Inquisitor, if you've opted to give him the 3 dark organs, you'll be able to ask him how the evidence played out with the king. He tells you it went horribly and the king didn't see the evidence as proof. It's here you have the option to rat out the cult under the church, or Jerry, the talking skull friend. With that new medallion in hand, it's time to venture to floor 10 and unlock the gate into the lower dungeon. Making your way down to floor 15 is the goal, to obtain the golden apple. Give the golden apple to Snake to help him finally complete his last ritual. He'll also give you the option to lick the golden apple, and in so doing nets you a ton of blue points, which at this point you probably don't even need. He still, however, needs a dark heart, but you should have been saving one specifically for this occasion. Give it to him and Snake's questline is complete. There's some exposition with Gary, and you'll learn quite a bit about Snake in this short cutscene. Once he summons his father, which is the Inquisitor, things settle down a little and you're finally rewarded with 2 of the 6 items you'll need. Snake's questline is generally the first quest that most people complete, as it doesn't require the aristocrat papers in order to fulfill. After you've given Charm the jewelry and perfume, she does agree to support your business, so tell the merchant about it. This will put him at the disposition necessary for him to accept the invite for the church ceremony, as the Inquisitor has refused and suggested finding someone else from the royal court in his stead. You'll get his acceptance of the invitation. You can now give the letter of invitation to the bishop that you received from the merchant. You'll still need the aristocrat papers to perform the ceremony, however. Speaking of, once you've obtained these overpriced documents, you're in the final stretch of the game. You now can perform the ceremony at the church in order to pray for rain for the town. Since the merchant is the bishop's brother, and he happens to be the prestigious member of the king's court who will be attending the ceremony, the 2 brothers will reconcile their differences after the prayer is done. This allows you to obtain both the items that they hold in one fell swoop. And there's also a little more dialogue from Jerry once you're an aristocrat. The next time you see the merchant, you can ask him about his new job, and he tells you he's not happy because the king eats like garbage. It's just a little exposition, but it explains why the merchant continuously comes to this village every week. His brother is in some debt, and his new job, while prestigious, doesn't really pay very well. On a similar note, the next time you see the bishop, you can get a little post-exposition from him on what his plans are. Since the astrologer asked you to find a way to get Charm to forgive him, your next step is to speak to Charm about her father. She'll tell you she has no interest in knowing the man, and that's that. Next Sloth Day, inform the astrologer about what Charm said. At least his disposition will climb high enough to obtain the calculations necessary to fix the mill. He will ask you to try to find a way to earn Charm's forgiveness. You can also now ask him about the remaining 3 parts required to fix the barrel. It should be of no surprise it's exactly the items you've asked Snake about if you've unlocked that dialogue tree. At least you can now fix the mill, which lets you grind wheat extremely efficiently. However, the real reason to fix the mill is now you can get the farmer to agree to let Alicia accompany Charm at her concert. With Alyssa's papers in hand, present them to Miss Charm next time she's in town. She'll be elated, but this isn't quite enough for this useless piece of scenery. You see, she can't legally let Alicia join her without Alicia being older, so an alteration to the documents making Alicia 2 years older is in order. However, the alterations need validation via an aristocrat's signature. Thus, you guessed it, she wants you to get an aristocrat signature on her altered documents. You're now able to officially forge illegal alterations on Alyssa's papers to validate her age with an appropriate aristocrat signature. Your own. Will finally this little trollop be appeased? Of course not, why would you think that? She still can't perform her concert without a new song to sing, and she feels that you're the only person who has the intelligence to get her a new verse. Fortunately, that useless lump of writer's block is still pondering how to work through all that alcohol you've toked him up on, and you can speak with him about finally strutting his swag and showing how much he truly loves Miss Charm. He feels he could write a new song if he's properly inspired by some very powerful spirits. This unlocks the ability to distill up some fly agaric infusion. It only requires 3 red mushrooms and a bottle of booze. The infusion takes very little time, and you can drop it off the same day. All you must do now is sleep for a small stint of time and return to the tavern. The poet is gone, and a note's there in his stead, telling you to meet him by the mountain fort near the seaside. Note, you cannot do this the same day you've read this note. You must wait till the following eve for him to spawn. Once he does, however, you'll discover he's metamorphed into a fawn or something similar thereof. At least you get the song, but he'll be captured and detained as for being a monster. Once Charm is back in town, deliver her the poet's song, and she'll be besotted by the words after she reads them. She'll demand to know who wrote such a lovely song for her. Once you inform her that it was the poet that used to sit here at the tavern, and that now he's in a not-so-pleasant situation, the always useful and resourceful Charm will know exactly what to do. Ask you to help him. Though this may be the first time you see Charm actually thinking of someone other than herself. It's here you get the idea that this is probably the lucky break the astrologer needs to win back his daughter's forgiveness. So the next time you see the astrologer, you can give him the news. He knows he could only use his prestige to enter the fort with the excuse of reopening the dig site if he's recertified by the academy. This will require a written submission by him. In essence, he needs you to write him a book so he can claim it. Give him a silver quality book and he'll take it to the university. You now must wait till next week when he returns to the lighthouse with the news. You've got nothing to do now except wait for the astrologer to come back next week. He says whatever you wrote in that book was working magic on the Academy, perhaps a little too much magic. The Academy is demanding a sequel to this book, and since the astrologer admits he never actually read it, he can't really write one himself. Like before, it's up to you. So give him a gold book this time, and sit on your ass another week and wait for another response. You've got little else to do except sit on your laurels and wait, so why not try to catch that elusive goldfish? After all of this, the astrologer's professorship has finally been restored. He can now set about calling for Miss Charm and having them both head over to the fort under the guise of having to revisit the expedition site. He just needs an aristocrat to accompany him, but that really shouldn't be too much of a problem at this point. Just show him your papers, and everything is set. This entire cutscene plays out automatically, but you learn a little bit more about a few more NPCs. You also obtain the last 2 items you need to complete the portal and end the game. By this point, it's all in the bag. Grab all 6 items and head to Witch Hill, in which you will see the ending of the game. It actually seems that the real plot of the story is just picking up momentum. There are tons of problems in town, and all 6 NPCs are interlocked in some way with all of the events unfolding. Some of the dead seem to be walking around, the town is still cursed with little rain, there's distrust in the king's court, and there's talk about an invasion from the north. But this is where the story ends for our intrepid graveyard keeper, as he gets reunited with his love and presumably goes back home. You may have completed this game in around 200 days. There's a strict requirement of 24 days after obtaining the aristocrat papers until beating the game if you obtain them on Lust Day. Any day prior to that will add on an additional 1 to 5 days depending. I hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough and tutorial. There are several strategies you can employ. This, I hope, has at least solved some of the puzzles if you've been stuck along the way.